Hey everybody, Tyler the Highlander here. I'm going to show you how to make Highland Games hammer boots. You will need a piece of flat iron bar. You can get that at like a Home Depot, Lowe's, hardware store. This one that I use is a 1/8 inch thick, 1.5 inch wide, and I got one that was about 3 feet. You could probably do one with 24 inches would be fine. 2 feet would be all right. And you will need 4 bolts. And these bolts are 1/4 inch and 3/4 inch long. And you'll need some washers. I'd get 8 just to be safe. 4 of these T-nuts. I think they come in a pack of 4 from the hardware store. 4 pretty big washers that we'll do that with them, and that'll keep them from ripping out of your boots when you're throwing the hammer. You also want like a wrench to tighten, a cutting tool, metal cutting tool, a drill bit to drill through the shoe and through the metal. And a vise is really helpful to bend the metal how you need it to bend. But you could figure out a way to do that with, a board and your brute strength too. Measure 12 inches for your first blade. Then you use your cutting tool. And what I did is, this is the cut piece that I saved, is I cut it like this, in a V, so I didn't have to cut multiple times. And then I cut the rest of it off of the other side. And when I was done cutting, I kind of sharpened these a little bit, ground them down so they were more uniform. So for bending them, I made a mark at 6 inches, pretty much just the halfway point. Put it in my vise like this, clamped it down, and then I used a big PVC pipe lever and bent it, just cranked on it one way, and then flipped it over and cranked it back the other way. And that's how I got kind of that Z shape in the metal. All right, next I took a drill bit, and the drill bit I used was a 5/16, and that's just big enough for the threads to go through on this bolt. Really doesn't matter which, what size you do all this stuff. The length of this bolt matters, but as long as everything matches up. With this 1/8 of an inch bar, it's pretty thick, but you don't necessarily need cutting oil for your drill. But I used it, and it'll save your drill bit in the long run. Cutting oil. I decided to make my second hole, the back hole, a little bit further forward because of how these boots bend. I don't want it to tear out. These are my old hammer boots. They had a pretty flat sole, so that metal bar laid pretty flat on them. The newer boots, still old boots, that I'm gonna use, kind of has a little bit of a curve to it. You can kind of see that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bend this bar just a little bit so that it follows the curve of the shoe or boot. So now you can see that follows the curve of the boot better. I also ended up, because these boots are different, I also ended up bending this down a little bit more so that it's going to stick in the ground. These boots are a little weird, these Keens, they kind of have that weird toe up format, but ended up bending those down and Made sure to kind of match them up the best that I could so that the bends are all the same, you know, so that they're even. So when you're placing your blade, I mean, you can put them right in the middle. I like mine a little bit more towards the ball of my foot. So just barely off center. So instead of center, you know, just a little bit off center towards the toe, towards the big toe. That's just a personal preference. You can do them however you want. And as far as forward placement, you don't want them too far forward because then you can't get to the nut in there. But you don't want them too far back too. You want them far forward enough that you can flex a little bit in your shoe too. I'm going to mark where I'm going to drill the holes. Okay, then I take the sole, sole part out, or the padding out, and then I'm going to put that back over the nuts when I put those in. So I've got my holes marked where I'm going to drill. This can be a little tricky depending on the tread. There you go. The best way to do this is just to put it on there actually, and you got a guide. The modification I made to these T-nuts, they normally come like this. They come with these little teeth, but I've decided to flatten them out and then use a big washer like this to keep them from popping out through the bottom of the boot. So really I just took a hammer, a flat surface, and just flatten them out like that. I've got that flattened out. Got a little trick. Use a nail to put through so I can line it up better. So I've got I'm holding the nut in the right spot with my fingers. And now I'm going to take the blade that has the bolt and I'm just going to kind of try to get it started here. Yep, it grabbed, okay. And then I can just tighten it. So I used a 1-inch bolt and 2 washers, and that's about flush with the bottom of the boot, which is what I want, so I don't want to be able to feel it. And then this T-nut actually sinks in, so the sole, you know, is from here to here. Yeah, and you won't really be able to feel that. All right, looking at the flex of it, I'm glad I moved that bolt a little further forward because of where the boot flexes. If you guys are enjoying my videos, give me a like and a subscribe and hit the bell button so that you can see when I post a new one. Finished product there. Can't even see it or feel it inside. There we go. I don't know. Everybody in on the clay.